Hello everyone, how are you all doing? And a very warm welcome to a new video on the channel. We'll be continuing the Ziggo Pro League series today. And we are getting towards the end of the season, aren't we? It's round 17. It's actually the second round that we are using F1 2018 after stepping from F1 2017 up to F1 2018. On the left hand side are your championship standings after Russia, after Sochi. And we are driving at France. You might think, you know, why are we driving at the French circuit? Reason for that is that in F1 2017 the French circuit was not there in the game. So what actually happened is they swapped it around with something like Suzuka. So, you know, we had to drive this track pretty much at the end of the season, whereas in real life they drove it at the start. But anyway, so of course, when we have seen the previous race at Sochi, Russia, and we know that with F1 2018 there's a whole new element in the game, and that is tire management. However, that will be coming there for the next session, because we're currently still in qualifying, and of course in qualifying it's flat out in terms of what your car can do, what the driver can do. You have to push as hard as you can. This first sector here, we're currently on the 128.9 that we've got on the boards. I'm sorry, by the way, about the delay. It's been like 2 weeks ago since I uploaded the last video. I've been quite busy. A few people have been asking where are the videos. Oh, here they are. It took a little while for me to get this finished, but I'm working on some other stuff as well in the background for this channel, so stay tuned. First sector completed then. Was alright, but could have been better. The first corner around this track, the first two corners, that chicane is absolutely crucial for your lap time. We didn't really nail it there, just like there, that curb you can be a lot more to the inside of it, which costed I think a little bit more time. Yes, indeed it did, excuse me, because we're currently 700s up on our previous time. We're currently in 4th position, so this final sector to go. This is our strong point, by the way. This final sector, I noticed in qualifying and in race that this is the point where we make up a little bit of time compared to our opponents. This corner here is so technical. The braking is incredibly difficult because you turn your car while you're braking, and braking in a straight line is of course much easier, much more efficient. So it's a really tough corner. This as well, need to line yourself up for this final run. I touched the curb there. You don't really want to do that in my opinion. DRS wide open for the run to the line, and we improve our time. It's a 128.794, and that only puts us 0.006 down of a second in terms of the gap between us and Matus. Then the final run here, 128.7 still on the board. Matus has not improved his lap time in the meantime, so the gap is still 0.006 of a second. Coming into the first turn, I was like, okay, if we want to improve, we need to go bang on in the first turn. But unfortunately, I went too much on the inside there. Got an invalidated lap time because of the cut. But in the end, Allard, so Matus, did not improve his lap time either. So it was a really close qualifying here, having 4 people within a tenth of each other. Our teammate being a little bit further down than he perhaps would have liked. But again, the race is a completely different story compared to qualifying. Race or tire management is key. Ever since F1 2018. So here we are then on the grid. 5 red lights are already on, and the 17th round of the season is... took quite a while there before the red lights went out, but anyway, rough, relatively alright start, tucking in the slipstream nicely of Matus there, but not able to get by. A little bit of a nudge there from, I don't know who it was behind. It seemed a little bit of lag in my opinion. Even got a warning for that, which is absolute nonsense. But anyway, coming through the first turn unscathed there and still a second place, which is not too bad. This is something that I want to say. I don't really know if I said this in the previous video as well, but this is gonna be so important, and it will not only be important for this race, but for every single race that is following after this one as well, because when you are driving behind another driver, in my opinion, you have a massive advantage, and this is something that you'll see through this race. We need to stick with Matus as much as we can until the DRS is enabled. Why do I say that? With the DRS, it is incredibly easy to stick behind someone, and what you can do when you're driving behind someone, ever since F1 2018 has been released, this is how I feel. When you are in the DRS, you can easily save your tires, you can easily save your ERS, you can easily save your fuel. In my opinion, you're in an advantage, you've got the advantage when you're behind someone instead of being the guy in front, because Matus right now, he will be probably trying to push, you know, maybe overheat his tires a little bit, deploy more ERS, use more fuel, whatever, in order to extend the gap. And this is something I think that most drivers have. When you're driving in front of someone and the gap is not over a second, you just want to push, you know, you want to get someone outside of your DRS zone. And that obviously makes sense, but when you can stick with someone and you have got the DRS, you can easily turn down your ERS while you are being in the DRS. You can easily turn down your ERS to low or even none deployment, and the car ahead will not pull away because you have the DRS. So, you know, you can easily save and easily stick with someone. The only thing that are key areas right now for this race, because my plan was, I'm not kidding, my plan is right here to stick behind Matus for 52 laps, and if my plan works bang on, spot on, if my plan works as I intended to, I will overtake him in lap 53 of the race, use all of my fuel, use all of my ERS, overtaking him lap 53 with DRS, and he will have no chance to get by again. Because this is the thing, okay? The field is so close. If I were to overtake Matus, I would say, you know, lap 4 for example. Take lap 4 as an example. There is a 90% chance that Matus will, that I will not be able to pull away, and Matus will stick within my DRS, and he will be able to save the tires, he will be able to save the fuel, he will be able to save the ERS. You see what I mean? I could try to get past, and when I'm past I will push the tires, overheat them maybe a little bit, and not be able to get outside of the DRS, and Matus will have the advantage again by being in the DRS and save. So they are the only thing that you need to get right when you're on my strategy, so to say, you know, when you want to overtake someone at the end of the race, right at the end of the race. The only thing that you need to pay attention to are the pit stops, and that's it. Because the thing is, we are driving behind Matus, so we can see what he is going to do. If he dives into the pit lane, we'll probably, you know, do it as well, or maybe, I don't know, a lap later if I feel like it's too early. But we need to make sure that when we exit the pit lane, we are still in that 1 second window that we have DRS, because when someone does have a gap over a second, then it is pretty much equal again, you know, there is no DRS, so it is pretty equal, and then it's all about the driver space, you know, again. So a bit of a tricky story. I hope it makes sense. My teammate and I did a lot of testing on this, and again, I really feel like the guy who was in second place or who's behind someone has a big advantage. There's absolutely no need, in my opinion, for me right now to try to make a move on Matus, because when I make a move, he'll probably, you know, stick within my DRS, and he'll be able to have the better tires, and he'll be able to save the tires, and he'll be able to save the ERS, excuse me, not the DRS. So it's a little bit lame, in my opinion, and it's quite boring. It will not provide the best racing that we see. Getting close to the gearbox of Matus. But in my opinion, if you want to win, then that's the way to do it. Now, one thing that is quite interesting, there is rain predicted for the end of the race, so that could possibly spoil my plan, my tactics here. Nonetheless, as Matus will pit, yes he will, so that's quite a late call. We will stay out for a lap longer, and look how much fuel we've got. Like, this is, I've got left. This is exactly what I mean. We've got over 2.5 laps, over 2.5 laps of fuel left. I mean, that's mental. Pick up a warning here, that's going to be crucial too. You know, you don't want to have any penalties for this strategy to work. So I think that was our first warning, which is not too bad. That first chicane is really tricky. Thing is as well, that first chicane is easy to cut because it is pretty blind. The sun is really low for some reason around this track, and it actually blinds the apex a bit of the first turn. So it's very easy to spot the curves, the curve, so to say, of turn 1. Now, Floris Wyers attacking us here in the DRS. This is crucial to stay ahead. We need to stay ahead of Floris Wyers here, and we do so, breaking quite deep into this corner. But for now, being able to stay in front of him, ERS deployment up to overtake, using the fuel now that we have got in order to stay ahead of Floris Wyers. We want to respond this lap to the undercut that Matus is going for. So, you know, we need to have a good lap here, but unfortunately, Floris decided to attack us, which definitely will have cost us a little bit of time. So, again, we need to make sure that when we exit the pit lane, we are as close as possible to Matus, so that we can again get within that 1 shot, 1 second DRS range. But so far I'm making a complete mess of this in-lap. And this is quite funny as well. Pushing is I would say I think we picked, yes we picked indeed. Pushing, as Flora stays out, that's interesting. Why do I go so slow in the pit lane, by the way? If I were to go into the pit lane with, I don't know, 50-60 kilometers an hour, it would give me a penalty. I had no clue why, but I had to go like 30-40 kilometers an hour into the pit lane in order to avoid a penalty. But what I want to say is that if you push here, and you really start pushing at the end of your stint, there's a 90 to 80% chance, 80 to 90% chance that you'll over push the car, the tires get overheated, or they, get a higher temperature in them as we exit the pit lane here. This is exactly what we need. We're still within the DRS range of meters, so this is exactly what I meant with there are two key areas in this race, and those are the 2 pit stops that we are gonna make. And the first one went excellent. We are still behind meters within that DRS range, so that's good. Anyway, again, if you are pushing at the end of your stint, there's a good chance that your tires will start to overheat. You'll start to slide around, and that, of course, is not going to be beneficial in terms of lap time. So, well, nonetheless, even though we had a really poor in-lap there, we still fed out like, well, 4 or 5 times behind meters. So, not bad at all. I do believe, though, that so far, when you consider the performances or the raw pace that we had in Russia, I made a mistake on the first lap, fair enough, but the raw speed we have there, and also the raw speed we have here at France, it does show that I think we are able to adapt, or how would you say it? We are a lot more compatible with this game compared to F1 2017, and I really believe that is all down due to the tire management. It is so important to monitor it, and if you go over the limit for, well, if you slide through, let's say I slide through this final corner here once, the tires will already start to overheat, and you will feel it, and it will be, once they overheat, it is so hard. And as we see there, Flora's rejoining behind us again, so the top 3 is staying the same effectively. But again, if you overheat the tires once, it is quite tricky to bring them down again to the operating window. Now, one thing that I do not understand, our teammate and I have put quite a bit of time into trying different setup tricks, trying different driving tricks in order to make the tires work better, because the operating window, in my opinion, for most tires is around 100 to 101 degrees, something like that. If you go to 102, I think that's already a bit on the high side. Now, one thing that I just don't understand, our teammate and I can run the exact same setup as what we are running, but his tire temperature does not go above 100, and I'm like at 102. And I really have tried to adjust my driving in order to achieve lower tire temperatures as well, because in my opinion, the lower they are, the better it is. Of course, there's a certain limit to it, but 99 degrees is really nice. That's such a solid temperature, and I am at like 101, 102, which is alright, but if you go over the limit once, it is again really hard to bring them down again to the right temperature. You would rather, in my opinion, oh, that's very close there, with Cabinets there in 3rd place. Now, this is important too, of course. When we are clearing these guys, I need to make sure that I stick with meters, which is exactly what we did after the final corner, so that's good. Again, you can see here me going to the non-ERS deploy mode. I just don't want to overtake him as of yet. I don't see the point, simple as that. It's a bit lame, again, in my opinion, but if we want to win the race, I really do believe that this is the best tactic. Coming back to the point that I was going to make, though, you would rather, run 99 degrees, in my opinion, compared to 102. But I can't lay my finger on what it is, and it's not related to setup, because we're running the same setups and we achieve different results with the tire temperature. But there has to be something in my driving that overheats, or well, not necessarily overheating, but that heats up the tires a fair bit more. And I don't know what. I can short shift all I want. I don't know. I can build up the throttle as slow as I want, but it never really seems to have an effect. I don't know. Luckily, it's not that big of a thing because again, I'm alright in terms of temperatures. 102 is still alright-ish. But again, you would rather have like 100. But anyway, I've not been able to achieve that yet, and I don't know why. I really do not know why. I've tried almost everything, I think, but again, I just don't know. Anyway, that's enough. One thing that again is quite interesting is the way you set up your car. It is different compared to F1 2017. The fastest way in F1 2017 would be to have as much oversteer as you could, slide all around slide around most corners, and you would be the fastest guy on track. Of course, it's not as simple as that, but you know, setting up a car was basically like that. And here, you need to make sure that you don't overstress your tires. You need to have a stable car, and that's exactly what I feel like is the right thing. You need a stable car, a stable setup. You can't go wiggling all around the corners with your rear. The rear needs to be planted, the car needs to be on the rails, and when you have that, when you achieve that, then you can, in my opinion, you know, have a really solid base in the race. You can really lap consistently, that kind of stuff. It's making a bit of a mistake here into the first turn, but again, we're not going to overtake it. We simply don't want it. Again, setting up the car, important. One thing that you are always gonna do though is you will sacrifice qualifying speed in order to have a better race set, because in qualifying the fastest way, in my opinion, still is quite oversteery like F1 2017, but it won't last in the race. Your tires will be absolutely gone. You will overheat your tires and it will not work. So you always need to sacrifice your qualifying pace a little bit due to that, as we need to get by Speed Freak here as soon as possible and get the gap 2 meters down again. Here we go, overtake mode on the inside here. Seems like an easy peasy move. I think we did the same move on his teammate as well a couple of laps ago, and we're doing the exact same move on him now as well. So again, up into P2. This is effectively the standings as they were before we pitted, although Ford also needs to overtake Speed Freak, which he has just done. So it's quite exciting. We have got a freeway battle for the lead, and that's really it. And again, there is some rain predicted for the end of the race. I'm trying to burn up a little bit of fuel here, by the way, because we had quite a bit of fuel for spare. We started with quite a bit of fuel spare as well. So I'm trying to, make the car a little bit lighter. So, you see they're going up to rich mixture. And there we see it. The rears right now are at 99 degrees, which actually is very good. So again, in my opinion, if I were to drive in clean air right now, let's put it like this. If we reverse the roles, so I will be driving in front, Mates will be driving behind, I really believe it makes a 1 to 2 degree difference in terms of tire temperature. Now, I never really pay attention to the front tires. It's always about the rear tires for me. I never pay attention to the front really, but always to the rear tire temperatures. Because in my opinion, they are a lot more sensitive, they are a lot more important to get right. Otherwise you'll be sliding, and when you slide, basically you start sliding because the rears are too hot, but because you are sliding, the rears get even hotter again, so you really want to try to avoid that. Lap 27 on the race then. Here we are in the train, freeway battle for the lead, and this is it. We're just stationary. I'm not gonna go for an overtake until, I don't know, in a perfect scenario, right, I would make the move for first place in lap 53, the final lap of the race, because when you do that, there's no chance for Mates to make another move in the next lap, because there is no next lap. So that would be perfect, but I was looking at how this race would pan out, because you do put a little bit of pressure, of course, on your shoulders when you go for a move in lap 53, because you only get one shot at it basically. So we'll see how that goes, as we hear from the engineer that rain in 10 to 15 minutes. So that's actually gonna change my plan here a little bit, because if there's rain, DRS will obviously be disabled. As we see Mates there diving into the pit lane, a really late call there. I think that Mates wants to get another stint in before the rain is going to start falling down. So I was having so many doubts right now. Do I pit or not? Do I stay out until the rain comes, or do we pit? And I was unsure of what was gonna happen, but I remember thinking that I had quite alright pace. If you were to, if Allard, so Metis, his name is Allard by the way, if Allard and I were driving in clean air, I think we would be very similar, and I even had the feeling that I would be faster than him ever so slightly. So with that in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, let's play it safe. Let's do the exact same thing as what Allard is doing, and try to get in the DRS again. And then when the rain comes, we'll just see what happens when the rain comes, you know. We can turn up the engine, we can turn up our ERS and try to make a move, because this is the thing as well. I do believe if I were to go for ERS overtake mode and the rich fuel mixture, and I have the DRS, I could easily fly by Metis, because the top speed I think we're having in this car is quite alright. And when you have the DRS in there as well, you know, it's basically, we would say in the Netherlands, it would be like, you know, sticking two fingers inside of your nose and you would breeze by, you know. So here we are in the pit lane again. Again, going quite slow into the pit lane there. I don't want to risk getting a penalty. A little bit of a weird bug that was in the game. Whenever I would come into the pit lane at full speed, with the pit limiter activated of course, I would get a penalty. Don't know how that works, but whatever. So here we'll see it right here. What will be the gap to Allard? That is gonna be absolute crucial for our race now. We wanna have it as close as possible. Here we are activating the pit limiter, and that is Allard actually. Oops. That is not really what I wanted to see. That gap is well over a second now, and you know, this is exactly what I was talking about. I did feel like if we were both in clean air, I think we would have the upper hand. So now it's time for me to prove it. You know, that's exactly what I said to myself. The reason why I made the pit stop, why I did the same as Allard did, was because I had the confidence that I could close the gap down again. So, you know, showtime, you know, show it, that's it. Gap is 1.9 seconds, let's make it 2 seconds when we exited the pit lane. Let's see if we can bring it down to a second. That's it. And again, the final sector is quite alright. I love this corner. I don't know what it is. The corner is, you know, a little bit weird because you turn while braking. And now comes another crucial thing. We hear that Van der Wal has a time penalty, or was it Van der Wal? I think, actually I'll correct myself. I believe the engineer was talking about the car behind us. So Flores has got some kind of time penalty underneath his belt. I do not believe we have taken up any penalties as of yet, which is quite alright, which is good of course. But there are still 23 laps to go. Skipping to the end of lap 30, Mate is doing 36.6, 32.6, excuse me. We're doing 32.8, so lost roughly 2 times of lap time last time round. But what I kept in my mind, and that was I think the most important thing, if you start pushing at the start of your stint, again, your tires will become hotter, quicker, faster, and you'll lack speed again once the stint progresses. So that's what I was telling to myself right now. You know, let Allard push, let him, I don't know, overheat his tires a little bit. And when he does that, he'll lose some pace a bit again. What you need to do is you need to make sure that you lap consistently. You need to make sure that the tires are consistent at a consistent temperature, and don't do anything silly. For this corner, by the way, I shift down to 3rd gear right before the apex. It really helps rotating the car a little bit, but be careful with that, because when you do it too early, the car will actually slide, it will understeer, and you can easily end up off the track.
The distance to the leader is
so lap 32, the gap is 2 seconds, so it has pretty much stayed the same. Having said that, Allard gained roughly a 10th, but if he has been pushing over the course of the last couple of laps, then he will start to notice it, I think this lap or next lap maybe, and he will feel that the tires will be at their, well, maximum temperature, so to say, before they start overheating. And that is something that I think Allard will notice as well. We see it here, lap 32 of the race. We've gone a few laps into the stint and we're doing purple sector time in 1st sector. And that's exactly what I wanted to see. Of course we're burning up our fuel right now, but you know, that's alright. You know, I saved the fuel for a reason, some fuel for a reason. Again, when we were behind Allard, I was able to save the ERS, save some fuel. And that is something that we can use now, and that is going to be vital. So I reckon
15
you know,
minutes.
don't forget as well, Allard pitted 1 lap earlier than us, so I reckon that Allard will be at his peak temperature right now. If he goes 1 degree centigrade over his temperature that he's running at right now, he'll probably overheat his tires. So he needs to back off a little bit in order to keep his tires in a good shape, and that is what I started to notice. And this is exactly what I was mentioning. I really wanted, you know, to be able to lap consistently in the first couple of laps. I didn't want it to be like the first 2 laps I put in, I don't know, 32.4, and then the next 2 laps I put in 32.9. You know, that's not what I want. What I want is the first 2 laps 32.5, and the next 2 laps 32.6. You know, keep it as consistent as possible. In my opinion, that's the key, you know, to making these tires last and having a good stint. And so far, so good. We are closing the gap to Allard, and you know, this was absolutely lovely to see. And I do believe that we could have achieved something similar to this in Russia, but of course we know what happened there. I made a silly mistake, so I was eager to prove that we have the pace ever since F1 2018 came out, and that now we can fight basically. So again, this final sector, it has got quite a nice flow when you nail it. When you don't nail it, it's the most ugly sector you will ever drive on or drive through. But you know, when you nail it, it's really nice. So we're getting close to using the minimum of fuel now. And you know, once you get within the second, that's when you have the DRS, and that's when you can start to, you know, save again. But for now, there is no saving. We need to keep pushing. This is what I mean. Lap 34, 32.6. And that's the consistency that I was talking about. And here we see it, 1.1 seconds to Allard from the wall. You know, these last 6 laps or so, they were, oh man, you know, I'm starting to smile a little bit, you know, at the thoughts of it again. You know, we see here Allard making a mistake even, so you know, we have got what it takes to challenge Allard. That's how I felt at this point. And that was, you know, very nice, because let's be honest, Allard has been on a completely different level with F1 2017 since he joined the league. But really with F1 2018 I had the feeling that there was more in it for us, and I think this race is proving that. Yes, I used a lot of fuel in order to get that gap down to, you know, within a second again, but I knew that it was worth it, because again, we're now within a second, and now we can start saving again. You can see it, lap 40, everything is fine again. Our ERS levels are fine again. Our fuel is fine again. But the rain is starting to fall, so 12 laps to go, and now it's gonna get interesting for the victory here. Floris Weiss is 3 seconds behind us, by the way, so keep an eye out on that as well. But we have finally got a battle on our hands here for the lead, and it's a proper battle against Allard, so that is lovely to see. That is something that you work for, and again, I do feel like with F1 2018 we have better chances than ever, because if we were still in F1 2017, there was gonna be no way in a billion years I was gonna find myself in this position.
Safety car deployed.
And then
Safety car has been deployed.
a new chapter in this race. Safety car deployed with 12 laps to go, and I was starting to panic like a crazy monkey. I had no clue what to do at this stage. I was like, okay, I'll follow Allard in, I'll do whatever he does. And here we are in the pit lane, coming in for our pit stop, and we are gonna go for the intermediate tires. So, you know what? I was a little bit... I knew the rain would come, basically, but I would have preferred it if the race stayed dry, because, you know, I could have executed my plan, I think, of overtaking him right at the end. So, of course, we have no DRS now. This is gonna be a 9-way battle, or sorry, not a 9-way battle, a 3-way battle probably, for 9 laps until the end. And this was the first time I was gonna drive in rain conditions as well in F1 2018, because I did not practice that. So here we go, you know, bring it on, battle for the victory. Of course, it would have been nice to have DRS, but you know, it is the way it is. It is raining, we have no DRS, so we need to find another way past out from the wall if we want to win this race. I also had no idea how the safety car procedure would work, by the way. So if I have a bad start, then I'll hopefully learn from it. Here we go though, getting ready. When is Allard going to, you know, go onto the power? right alongside, and there he goes to the power. I was sleeping a little bit there because right in that moment there, the computer basically controlled my throttle, and then there was one moment where that switched off, so I was in full control of the car again. And I did not know that that would happen. So again, I was a bit unfamiliar with the conditions of the safety car restart, but whatever. We're back on the way. Gap to Albert from well, 6 tenths. Gap to Flores Rise 3.5 tenths. So he's definitely quite a bit closer than we are to Albert, but that's alright. We now need to get a feel for these conditions, you know. This is very interesting. Right after the safety car here, there is no time to you know, adapt really. You need to adapt instantly to the conditions if you want to make the most out of them. So let's see what we can do here. Again, it's a three-way battle here for the lead with a couple more laps to go, and that is something that I think we all want to see. It's been an incredible race here, really, in my opinion. It has been boring in terms of overtaking because there basically has been none overtaking, not at all. But you know, again, I wanted to plan it right until the end of the race, so time to show it now again. Time to show that the plan will work that I had in mind. But again, the confidence it gave after the pit stop, seeing that 2-second gap tumbling down again, that really was for me the confirmation that, you know, we are on the right path on this game. So lap 50 out of 53, the gap to Allard is still like 0.7 of a second, so we need to get closer if we want to get a shot in here. Going a little bit deep into it, and that allows Flores to actually have a move. So we're side by side with him now. He's obviously, you know, gonna battle here, but keep in mind he has got a penalty underneath his belt. So, you know, this is a bit, you know, I hate it that this happened, because this of course will extend the gap to Allard while we are battling with Flores. We're still side by side here, having the inside line of this corner though, so we managed to stay ahead. But this was something that I hated to see, because I was gonna start lining myself up for an overtake on Allard, and now the gap is 1.2 seconds to him again, because Flores decided to start battling. Well, he didn't really decide it, but you know, I made the mistake myself by going deep, so of course he tried to take advantage of it. But man, I hated to see that happening right at this point, because I was gonna start lining up Allard, at least that was the plan, for an overtake. The gap was 1.2 previous lap, it is now 1.1 again, well 1.2 effectively, so we're gonna have to do something crazy here if we still want to go for an overtake. It is probably not even gonna happen. So lap 53 of the race, and it still looks like Allard will pick up a victory. But you know, we're battling or fighting very hard here. You know, trying to make the scenario different, trying to, you know, get a win for ourselves in. But I don't think it's gonna work, is it? So, oh man, oh man. 1 second to Allard here, 4 tenths to Flores Rise. Flores seems to be pretty fast in these conditions.
You're managing it well.
And I think that we are running out of time here. Again, going into overtake mode, trying to defend from Flores here, which we do seem to be able to do. Yes, we are. And that's really it, I think. I don't think we'll get another shot in at overtaking Allard. A bit of a slide there. Oh, Flores is actually quite close behind us, isn't he? So defending here the inside line, 1.1 again to Allard, so there's no way in hell we're going to overtake him, I don't think. And we are going to have to settle once again for second place, I think. But at least this race showed the confirmation that we do have the speed. And maybe sooner or later we can again, we can again win a race, but then for the first time against Allard from Woe, because that is something we are yet to do. We really, you know, I really want to beat Allard, of course, at some point, and I think if we keep this up, then at some point, if we have a good day and Allard maybe has a bad day, we will be able to make that work, but not for now, because Allard again takes a victory. We cross the line in second. Also in terms of penalties, not a lot will change, because I think Allard and I both had one penalty or even none. Yeah, we both had one penalty. So there it is. Flores had a lot of penalties. Racecraft in the end, our teammate got promoted up to 3rd place because of the penalties that other people picked up. But the second away from Matus. Again, if the race stayed dry, I think the plan would have worked, but it didn't. Simple as that. So there's no point even discussing that further. In the rain, I believe that we could have maybe gotten a shot in lap 52 if I didn't make a mistake and didn't, you know, let Flores attack us again. But you know, these are all ifs, and I don't really want to go further into, you know, what happened in this race. I think we all saw that we were able to close up a gap of 2 seconds to Allard. That moment, by the way, those 6 laps or 7, I don't know what it was, where we closed the gap, felt so intense, because when you make a mistake, and when you make a mistake and you even lose 1/10, that 1/10 is already quite a bit. So, you know, very, very tense, but lovely to have that as well, of course. We're starting to get more and more competitive in this league, which is good. And like I said, maybe sooner or later, if we keep this going, we might be able to take advantage. Do I regret not going for a move on Allard when it was dry? Maybe a bit, but again, I don't think I would have been able to pull away, because Allard probably would have stuck within our DRS range again. And you would be able to have DRS the whole time and save the tires and save the fuel and whatever. So, you know, it's a bit lame again, but I do believe it is the right way to go about this and try to win a race. So next time, if the race stays dry, we might be able to execute the same plan and see whether it works then. But that is all left to be seen for the next race. Thanks all for watching, by the way. We're doing well, I think, on the channel. You know, quite good, you know, positive vibes, good responses, good comments, positive comments. So thanks for that. I will close it off here, by the way, and say thanks for watching. Quite a long video here, but you know, hopefully you have enjoyed it nonetheless. I'll try to keep the next video short again, but I think, you know, this video or the race spoke for itself. We are on the right track again. Thanks all for watching. If you have enjoyed the video, I would sincerely appreciate a like. That's it for me though. Take care of yourselves and see you until the next video. Goodbye.